welcome back to our last Tech Talk of this year's Wolfram Technology Conference 2022. We're streaming here live, and it is, very, very busy down here, but it's going to make for an exciting live last video. So I am joined by Shadi Ashnai, she does this all the time. This is her 5th Tech Talk, I believe, and so she's the manager of Sound and Vision, and we're going to be learning about all these different cool updates happening in audio, image, and vision, including a cool chess format that I think the viewers are going to be really interested in.
I think so.
Cool. How's the conference been going for you so far?
The conference is great, especially after 2 years of remote. I think this is very refreshing, essential for all of us, meeting always very interesting people, hearing about people's super exciting projects.
Yeah, it's been fun. This is my first year, obviously, and it's been really fun to kind of just see the company in a new light and see it in person and do all of that. So cool. Well, do you want to start sharing any updates? Yeah, I think you had audio and video as your first update.
Audio and video is my first update. I think we released audio 5-6 years ago.
Sure.
And the one good thing we bragged about audio was that we had an out-of-core version of audio, which means everything shouldn't be baked into our notebooks. We could rely all the time on files that live somewhere in our file system.
Cool.
But people have had problems sharing their notebooks ever since.
Okay.
And then when we released video, I think about 2 years ago, video only is out-of-core.
Yeah.
So there is no version of video that gets stored in the notebook. So these visuals that I have here, like as in a video, an audio that has a missing asset, or a video that has a missing asset, should be familiar to a lot of the users who have used us in the past couple of years. So easy things we have added as far as user experience improvements is that now audio object has this drop down that says store in the cloud publicly or privately. For your own sake, privately would be used if one goes from one machine to another and would like to have the asset somewhere saved in the cloud.
Sure.
And then the video object similarly has store in the cloud publicly or privately. Now we are going to work this out into the UX of notebooks. So if people want to save something that relies on local assets, then we automatically remind them that maybe if you want to share this with someone else or look at it on a different machine, you can save things. But I think these are good quality of life improvements for the time being.
I agree. I'm sure everyone will be very happy about that.
Yeah, I think so. And then easier sharing means easier collaboration.
Absolutely.
On projects. Obviously, we have the cloud as well, but a lot of times for things we do, it's just easier to work on them on notebooks locally.
Yeah, very, very true.
Yeah. So video has really been the focus of our development in our team in the past couple of years.
Sure.
Audio has slowed down in favor of video, and I think rightly so. It's a new fun area of the language which is developing. A lot of people have a lot of video data as well.
Yeah.
In fact, more than audio data. We find it less and less common that people are sharing any audio data. It's been
Interesting.
easier to capture. Even if it's just an audio you care about, it's just easier to capture a video of it. So
It is.
You do have the video data. In fact, we can process the audio track of the video object as well, or a video file.
Very interesting.
But then the focus has been video. Last time I presented video in one of these tech talks, we only had a thumbnail or a small view of the video, but now it's a full-blown video object in a notebook.
Very cool.
It's interactive. You can play it. You can slide through. Anything, all in a notebook, very convenient.
Sure.
But we don't stop it as just a player. Obviously, we do a lot of processing, editing, analysis. A couple of cool things that have been added recently, I think, in this upcoming version is that, we had processing on video, not time-varying processing as much or as easy. For instance, an example is that the same video I showed you before, we could have rotated it by 20 degrees, or by 90 degrees, so the whole thing is rotated by that fixed degree.
But
the thing that I've computed here is that I'm rotating it as the time goes by. So if I play the same bird video, you see things evolving, or that process of rotation is happening over time with the time varying parameter. A couple of other examples that I created for my talk is this one is rotating, but also doing some kind of a nesting there. So more copies of the bird is being added as we go. Very easy syntax, still fits into our scheme of one line of code, can do a whole lot. And a lot of cool creative stuff could happen with these things. Just another example of the same sort. As the time passes by, we'll move things to a corner and make multiple copies of that bird.
That's so cool. It's really crazy to me that like every single day at Wolfram I learn something new, and this is the thing I'm learning new today.
And you have a lot of video files sitting on your machines, I'm sure.
I do.
You might get excited to play with those as well.
I'm gonna have to go home and really learn the Wolfram language and see what I can do. This
Use
is
it
exciting.
for video.
Yeah.
Now, we do have a lot of video files laying around. No one would think no need to generate them, but
Sure.
Wolfram Language has been great for visualization since day one, and there's a lot of ways of generating. Since we introduced video in the language, there has been great ways of turning our say manipulates into video objects so that we can play with them. Version 13.1, previous one that we released, we have things like video capture and video screen capture, which just so conveniently, this is me now talking to you,
Cool.
I can click that record button, start recording, or I could record my notebook. So let's just do a quick snippet of that, and so forth. And then the good use case of that, I think, in our system is going to be when somebody is presenting a whole topic on a slideshow, they can have their notebook, their screen recorded for the whole time. If they want to record themselves as well, just turn on the webcam in Mathematica and have that record yourself as well.
That's really cool. It's something you don't really know you need until you need it, and it will make your life so much easier.
And then the pandemic years showed us
Absolutely.
that a lot of that is going to be needed and used.
That's so cool.
Now, more kind of fun things. Also along the lines of that time varying aspect of the new upcoming version that we're incorporating into our video capabilities. This example that I thought would be a fun example to show is showing us a random video of a beach. So that's the video object.
Cool.
And then another thing that Mathematica has always been really good at was solving equations. So
Absolutely.
Here we are finding locations of a ball being dropped from the top. And so that's the gravity and so forth. And now we have the video, we have an image of a ball. And then what I can do is really just superimpose that ball as if it was dropped from up there in front of the beach.
Wow.
So things like that. And this is just a fun example we came up with earlier this week for the conference, but imagine how much more can be done.
That is really that is so cool.
And this is all the code that anybody needs to do. Again, just incorporating whatever Mathematica has been really strong with for decades.
Yeah.
Now, just put it on top of videos.
That is so cool. I'm impressed.
Yeah, you should get creative and see what you want to do. So another example of the same sort, we have a video of a dog following these two ladies who are walking in the park. And then we have machine learning in the system. So the easiest thing for us is to detect the location of the dog. And in this example, I'm showing just tracing the trajectory of that dog being detected in the video. Which
Very
is that.
cool.
Yeah. Well, that example I think some people have seen, but again with the new functions, it's just easier to incorporate whatever analysis we have done on videos on top of the video again and create new assets in a sense that are intuitive, that are for educational purposes really easy and useful to use and all of that.
That's so cool. I am really, really impressed.
You want to see one more?
Yes, I do. I do want to see one more.
This is the last one. I'm showing along the video capabilities. This is a picture of a car with a mask, which is showing where is the car, and there's something called Fourier descriptors, which takes a shape like that, shape of a car, and tries to find what are the coarser level outlines or contours of that, and then it can get finer and finer as many descriptors that you want, Fourier descriptors as you want to define for the contours on that. So the thing I've done here is that I've computed the Fourier descriptors of that shape, and then over the time I'm drawing one contour at a time on top of the car as if somebody is taking the car and creating a hand-drawn version of that.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's so cool. You always see those filters that are like you can draw your like it's like a sketch of me
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's a selfie. It's like, but you can watch it happen in real life, and this is so cool.
Yeah, well, now that you say that, one thing I haven't done in this example is to make some kind of a posterized version of that background car, but obviously we have image processing functions
Yeah.
to do that. So if you want to have the contours in the front, but also have some kind of a painting-like version of the car in the back, easy.
That's really, really cool. I think it allows for not just mathematicians to use Wolfram Language. It'll allow artists and other people who want to see the digitalization of these things.
Definitely.
It's incredible.
We have had great interest from that audience. I think we have also had a great interest from younger portion of our community, kids of our users or kids at school who have licenses of Mathematica, because these stuff are really visual and attractive
For sure.
and creative, and that's all kids care to do.
For sure, yeah. I feel like I'm a really creative person, so this is just really amazing to me right
We
now.
would love to see what you can do with all of our
I'll
stuff.
have to send it to you.
Definitely.
Cool. So is it Image next? Is the next update?
Image is next. Image has been the first thing our team started working on. This is now about 15 years that we have been in the business of image processing. A lot of people use our capabilities all the way from photo editing, which you would say there are so many apps for them out there.
Yeah.
But also we see a lot of uses, especially in conferences like this. People in biology, people in astronomy. There are just images all over the place.
Sure.
Sensors for security purposes. Again, there is an immense number of sensors that take images around us all the time. So
Sure.
image processing is huge. We have slowed down our image processing development as well for the sake of video. But good news, I think because we have video capabilities now and we're growing that, I think we're stretching some capabilities that we have had in image, and we are revisiting a lot of the functions and filters that need to be upgraded and updated, either for the sake of speed or for the sake of new methods that we haven't added there, modernize them with neural networks. So there is just a whole lot on our list now that we think needs attention on the image side, and it will immediately gets incorporated into our video computation as well.
That's really cool. This is exciting.
So this is a great example of something that got implemented on the image side because it was demanded more on the video side.
Sure.
We have had Image Compose, where we have had the capability of putting a logo on an image, so an image on top of an image. Watermarking was one old use case of that, but then for branding purposes, people all the time put logos on their images and videos.
Yeah.
But then I said, we really, in the case of video, well, subtitles are supported, but we really want some text as well to be visualized somewhere. So any text, this is not that visible, but any text could be visualized in an image. The second example I have is just any kind of a style text. If the font, the default font of that text wasn't really showing it in that original, style it. Use any other font and then place it anywhere else in your image if you want to do that. So this was a very easy, quick development, but as I said, a great example of things that will get updated on the image side and then immediately used on the video side.
Absolutely. That seems useful.
That seems useful.
Yeah.
It was, again, just a couple hours of work to get it in, but
Sure.
really useful stuff. Big stuff. Image Stitch has been added a couple of versions ago, and we could only stitch images on a plane, but then typically the world around us that we are looking at it is not planar, so things
Sure.
get skewed on the sides. So if I show you this, this is this is a very typical thing as we stitch images together. You get stretches on the corners, and then all of a sudden you feel like things are not proportionally correct anymore. A very common thing we're all used to through our phones is panoramic stitching of images. And if you think of it, it's typically a cylindrical stitching of the images. As you're turning around, you're kind of capturing images around the sphere or a cylinder. And so cylindrical stitching is something new coming in this new version of Mathematica, which is useful, has less of the distortions in the corner and all of that. I don't go into the details. There are some properties then one would prefer to go back to planar so that lines stay straight lines and all of that. So one has to be careful, but again, a very useful thing. Now, if you're not just going around the cylinder, but also looking up and down, cylinder is not going to be a proper canvas for your stitched images. Another thing that is coming is the spherical stitching. And that is going to take us to the concept of 360 images. Have you ever seen those?
I have, yeah. Those are crazy.
Yeah, you know, all the street images that are being captured are captured with these cameras that are spheres and are capturing the whole thing around them.
It's crazy to think about that.
But now when they are stored, they're nothing more than... this one might take a little while to import. But all of those 360 images, there is no specific format that they get stored in. They're just any ordinary JPEG with a very special projection on that. And then projections, you can think about all the map projections that we have had all the time, try to kind of flatten out the world on a piece of paper so that we can print it out and things like that.
Okay,
Same thing. So this might take a little longer to download. It's a large image, and I think I don't have proper internet down here. But what unfortunately I cannot show, but it was in my talk, and I think it's going to be available for everyone, is spherical, basically a 360 rendering of an image. So you have this canvas around you. Maybe it's a bummer. We'll just let it see. As we're talking about it, we'll see if the import finishes. But the basic concept is that we can have this spherical geometry in Mathematica and then put a texture of that 360 image on the sphere and then rotate around. Same thing with videos we have prototyped. It's not going to be in this upcoming version, but maybe a function repository and definitely in future versions of Mathematica. We're going to have that available. Running out of time, so maybe I'll just I'll stop that and have people explore that elsewhere.
Sure. Okay.
Micro QR, another example of, we have had QR for a long time as far as image recognition, barcode recognition. Micro QR, something that was missing. So we're always looking for completeness as well. So just an example of things that we're on the lookout to make our system as complete as possible.
Sure. Is the micro QR just a tiny QR code?
Yeah.
Very cute. Yeah. Okay. We love cute, tiny things.
And then convenience, I think.
Absolutely. Cool. So I know that you guys have some format updates as well, including the chess update that I think everyone's going to be really excited to hear about.
Should I jump to chess first and come back to the other boring ones?
Leave it for last, and it'll keep the viewers watching.
All right. Well, when we get to chess, I tell you my take on that,
sure.
on why we decided or how we ended up doing chess. But before we get there, quality of life improvement formats. We maybe not as much brag about it out there in the world. Our user expect that we can import any file that they may have sitting on their machines, and we can export to anything that is useful.
Sure.
SVG was one of the formats that we have always had support to writing to, and then you find SVGs on the web, but we could never read them in, which was giving us glitches. For instance, when we were importing an HTML web page, we had access to all sorts of images but SVGs because that format wasn't supported.
Got it.
Now, not a huge thing, but again, we could export it. Now we can import it. We can look at the summary of that. Now the imported object is a raster SVG. SVG is known to be for vector graphics, which is scalable.
Okay.
Now that's coming next. Another thing that this is just now continuous development on useful capabilities.
Sure.
Another example of those quality of life improvement, JSON is a very commonly used format. We have had support for import for it, and then people had to do a little bit of more work to get it into a format that is conveniently usable. Now, dataset, if you have seen these objects in our system, are really easy and convenient constructs to use. And now, again, very simple, short development for us, but very useful for our users to just be able to get something like JSON data into our system as a dataset.
Very cool. Okay.
Not a big deal, but just making life easier for our users.
Absolutely. That's all that they really want.
Yes. Chess?
Yes, I'm excited.
So chess started as a hobby project of one of our developers who happened to be playing chess.
Okay.
And he wanted to analyze his own chess games. So he started playing with what formats are there, and how can I access historic data of great players, the champions, and see how they actually win. So as he was developing this project for himself, he reached out to me and said, there are two very popular chess formats that I think we can add support for. And I said, obviously, yes, let's do it. I'm sure not only you're interested, we're going to get probably great interest from our user base and maybe even people outside of our users
For sure.
that can now easily access chess data, historic chess data or their own, and then analyze it. And I don't think we're going to stop at chess. There are so many there are, first of all, variants of chess that we can get access to after the fact. There are so many other games like Go, like tic-tac-toe. And I think where we might be going with games is ability to define some kind of a symbolic representation of games in our system to allow people to even invent new games. I don't see why not.
Yeah, the limitations are endless. I feel like you can kind of do anything.
It's endless. It's endless.
That's so cool.
So the first format, FEN, is the simpler one. It's just a string that tells you where pieces are on a chessboard. And simple thing, import an FEN string, you will get a chessboard back. There are more elements than just how the chessboard looked like. For instance, which player is an active player, being the black, how many moves are, or what is the move number, which is stored in that string, 11th, and how many positions are stored in general in this, which is 139 for this specific file I have, and then give me a random position out of the 139. Now this is the simple format. PGN is the more complicated format, or not necessarily complicated, it's just a bigger format that can store a collection of games, not only a single state.
Okay.
And it is in fact storing them as FEN strings. So this specific sample I have has 2 games. We have samples of PGN files that have hundreds of games stored in them.
Wow.
Not huge files because this is all string format, so it's easy to save them. And then I can say similarly give me a few positions of that. The other thing we have added to this upcoming version of Mathematica is an interactive summary of the game. This is a bug in my version which is going to be fixed, but this is really going to walk us through how that game proceeded.
Wow.
As the 2 players played it. Obviously have information about who versus who, what championship or event was that, when it was, where it was, and things like that. And then you can click, you can scroll down and just jump to one other state of the game. And again, I think this is just a teaser. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We have already started talking about let's have interactive chess game in our system.
Sure.
Let's have analysis of how good was my move. Or I'm a little confused. What is the best next move?
Sure. I think this could be really cool with Rubik's Cubes. If you haven't done anything like that already, it could show the progression of the algorithms to, solve a Rubik's Cube.
You reminded me we have some good articles, maybe in community, maybe elsewhere on Rubik's Cube. I'll have to remind myself what has been done.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Totally, I agree.
That would be so cool. This is so interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Wow, you guys have done a lot of work this last year.
We've been busy,
Seems
but it's
like
all
it.
fun.
Cool. Very cool. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone?
That's it. I think we are really excited about all that we are doing. It's keeping us busy, but it's so amazing to hear excitement from people here at the settings like this conference or on our community, any other forum we have. So give us feedback, especially give us cheers for anything that excites you, because I guess that's how we prioritize next projects.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me.
It's always fun.
I really loved being your guys' host this year at WTC. It's actually the 6th anniversary of Tech Talks.
Oh, wow.
So we hope to keep going, and hopefully I'll be back next year for the 7th. I know Bob and the video team has really put a lot of effort into these talks, and I think they're super beneficial and educational, and I really love to see how everything is progressing and see how everything's working well. So it's been an honor to be here, and we will see you next year.